We're talking about snakes. Dozens of snakes were released into the wild in North Florida to eat other invasive snakes.
And the University of Florida is sending invasive Burmese pythons back into the wild. And it is all in an effort to track these unwelcome guests.
A camera in the Florida Everglades caught a snake eating another snake. That's not the strange part. Snakes eat snakes all the time. The strange part is which snake was doing the eating. A cottonmouth, a venomous pit viper about 3 feet long, no thicker than your wrist. And the snake inside its stomach was a Burmese python, an invasive apex predator that has been swallowing deer, alligators, and bobcats whole for 20 years, while the best minds in American wildlife science tried everything to stop it and failed. A 3-foot native viper is eating the thing that's eating the Everglades, and nobody was watching it happen.
This monster, a 16-foot Burmese python, and they are destroying our ecosystem. Researchers are using technology and Mother Nature to squeeze them out.
Not the researchers, not the camera crews, not the government agencies that have spent millions trying to solve this problem. The cottonmouth was doing it in silence, in the dark, in the same black water where scientists had been walking for years without a second glance. When the research team finally figured out what was going on, they stood in front of an X-ray screen and didn't speak, because what they were looking at was a python spine, curled inside a cottonmouth's stomach, with the surgical transmitter they'd implanted still beeping. Stay with me, because what happened next changes everything about what we thought we knew about this invasion. Here's what you need to understand first. The Burmese python has already won in the Everglades. That's not dramatic language. That's the scientific consensus. Raccoon populations dropped 99.3%, not declined, collapsed. Opossums fell 98.9%, bobcats 87%, marsh rabbits, cotton rats, muskrats, functionally gone from areas they'd lived in for thousands of years. Full-grown white-tailed deer swallowed whole. Alligators, armored animals that survived the extinction of the dinosaurs, found inside python stomachs. Remains of 58 different bird species pulled from their guts, including migratory birds that had flown thousands of miles from Canada to winter in Florida. And here's the number that dropped 5 days ago. As of June 2026, Bartoszek's team at the Conservancy of Southwest Florida has removed 53,000 pounds of python from a 200-square-mile area. 53,000 pounds, over 25,000 eggs destroyed. And this season alone, they pulled out 4 tons. A record, the biggest single-season removal in the history of the program. You'd think that's winning. It's not. A single female Burmese python lays an average of 46 eggs per clutch. And here's the detail the competitor video you probably already watched didn't tell you. Researchers just discovered that females breed every single year, not every other year like scientists had assumed for 2 decades. One female was documented laying eggs 6 out of 7 years in a row. That means the population math is roughly twice as bad as every published estimate before 2025 had calculated. You can remove 4 tons of python in a season and still be losing ground. That's the kind of math that makes wildlife biologists stop talking at dinner. And you have to understand what these animals actually look like in the wild to understand why the math keeps winning. Burmese pythons are masters of disappearing. Researchers have walked within feet of fully alert, coiled animals and seen absolutely nothing. Their patterning matches the Florida leaf litter so perfectly that a 12-foot snake can lie across a hiking trail in broad daylight, and a trained biologist will step right over it. They slip beneath water for extended periods. They compress into spaces no search team would think to check. The Everglades is 1.5 million acres. You could search it your entire life and miss 99% of what's hiding in it. So, when Ian Bartoszek's tracking transmitters started going silent in 2021, nobody on his team expected good news. Bartoszek is a wildlife biologist at the Conservancy of Southwest Florida. He runs the Python tracking program. And the way it works is one of the smartest things anyone has done in this fight. His team surgically implants transmitters into male pythons and then releases them back into the swamp. They call them scout snakes. During breeding season, the males do exactly what males do. They go find females. Bartoszek's team follows the signal, finds the female and removes her before she can lay those 46 eggs. It's a Trojan horse. You let the enemy lead you straight to the target. The scout program was working. Then the signals started dying. Not the transmitters. Those were beeping perfectly. The pythons attached to them were the things disappearing. 3 tracked pythons went silent within months of each other. When the team pushed through chest-high water to reach the coordinates, they found nothing. No carcass, no blood, no drag marks. Just a faint electronic pulse, steady and rhythmic, broadcasting from inside something else's body. Something had swallowed their python whole, transmitter and all. They ran every possibility. Alligator. But gators crush and death roll. They leave shattered bones and torn tissue. These pythons had no external damage. Panther. But panthers bite through the skull or spine. They leave puncture wounds and claw marks. Nothing. Bear. But bears don't swallow 13-foot snakes in one piece. Nothing on their list fit. So they mounted cameras. Weeks of empty footage. Saw grass. Wading birds. The occasional raccoon. Hour after hour of nothing. The kind of waiting that starts to feel like the answer isn't coming. Then a researcher pulled up a clip one morning and the room went quiet. The camera showed a thick, dark-bodied snake lying perfectly still in the leaf litter at the water's edge, invisible against the dead vegetation. And then it moved. Explosive. One strike. A cottonmouth locked onto a juvenile python before the prey had time to react, and then slowly, methodically, walked its jaws around the entire body and swallowed it whole. A cottonmouth, an animal every single researcher on that team had stepped around on the trail without thinking twice. Bartoszek described it later as the most surreal moment in 20 years of Florida fieldwork. He'd spent his career tracking the most dangerous predator in the Everglades, and the thing that was quietly killing it had been under his boots the entire time. Here's why this isn't as crazy as it sounds. Cottonmouths are snake eaters. It's literally what they evolved to do. 27 different snake species are already on their regular menu, including other cottonmouths. They've been eating snakes in the Everglades for thousands of years. The pythons just became the newest item on a very old list. And cottonmouths are built for hunting in exactly the conditions where pythons hide. Between their eyes and nostrils, they have pit organs, heat sensors that detect infrared radiation so precisely that they can strike a target in total darkness based on body heat alone. You can't see a cottonmouth at night, but it can feel you from yards away. A python that just finished digesting a meal gives off a thermal signature like a warm lamp in a cold room. In a cottonmouth's territory, there is nowhere to hide. Then the venom does the rest. One fast, accurate strike. Pull back. Wait. For a juvenile python that hasn't developed the crushing muscle of an adult, it's over in minutes. The cottonmouth doesn't need to be bigger. It just needs to be faster. Once. 3 confirmed kills. 1 study area within months. That's not luck. That's a hunting pattern. But the cottonmouths weren't working alone. And this is where the story gets bigger than anyone expected. Bartoszek's tracking data revealed that 5 of his 19 monitored pythons were killed by American alligators. Not giant ones. 1 was only 9 feet long. These ancient animals hadn't given up their territory to the invasion. They'd been fighting back the whole time, quietly, continuously, completely undocumented. Then, in June 2021, a camera captured something with no precedent in the scientific literature anywhere. A bobcat attacked a python nest, not stumbling onto unguarded eggs, attacking the nesting female directly, slashing with both front paws, driving her backward, then methodically raiding the clutch 1 egg at a time. The first photographic evidence in history of a native mammal raiding a Burmese python nest. One ecologist who reviewed the footage said simply, "The bobcats figured it out before we did." Think about what that means. A species that lost 87% of its population to the python invasion didn't retreat. It studied the enemy, found the weak point, and went on offense within a single generation. Owls and hawks were filmed pulling juvenile pythons from exposed positions at dawn. Black bears were documented taking pythons at separate locations. And USGS researchers have documented Gulf Coast indigo snakes, a species that evolved specifically as a snake predator, killing juvenile pythons as well, adding another layer to what was emerging as an organized, if unplanned, resistance. An entire coalition, vipers in the leaf litter, indigo snakes in the brush, raptors in the canopy, bobcats at the nests, alligators in the water, bears in the brush. None of them coordinated. None of them directed. All of them doing what evolution spent millions of years building them to do. While the scientists were designing removal programs and applying for grants, the swamp was already fighting back. But here's the part you need to hear before this starts sounding like a victory story. Because it's not one. Not yet. A female python lays 46 eggs a year, every year, and guards that nest with her entire body for the full incubation period. The reproductive math is merciless. Every cottonmouth strike, every bobcat raid, every alligator kill, every 4-ton removal season, all of it matters. But right now, the math still favors the python. Dr. Frank Mazzotti, a wildlife ecologist at the University of Florida who has studied this invasion for over 2 decades, said it without softening. We are barely scratching the surface. Nobody who has worked this problem seriously disagrees. The Everglades covers 1.5 million acres. The pythons are in all of it. The cottonmouths, the bobcats, the gators, they're fighting across the same territory. But territory that big doesn't get won in a decade. But here's what changed, and it matters even if nobody's ready to call it a turning point. For 20 years, the story of the Everglades python invasion ended the same way in every paper, every grant report, every conversation after the microphones were off. No natural predator can stop them. Now there's footage that says otherwise. Not enough footage to change the math, but enough to change the question. The question isn't, can anything fight back anymore? Something already is. The question now is whether it's fighting fast enough. And, somewhere in the Everglades tonight, in the black water between the cypress roots, a cottonmouth is digesting a python whole. Its transmitter is still beeping. Less than a mile away, 46 eggs are hatching. The swamp isn't waiting for us to fix this. It already started without us.